nothing really wowed you on the changes that happened in One Bills Drive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the fans, that reaction from fans, since I've been in kind of cahoots with the Bills organization in some facet, it's kind of the same deuce, different toilet, right? Like that's what they've always said about every offseason, yet for the most part, these things really work themselves out. Of course, the big Band-Aid ripping moment, if you want, whatever you want to call it, this huge shattering of glass, which was letting Sean McDermott go, a proven winner, a culture setter, an organization shifter. The organization that he worked for 9 years and really fostered a beautiful relationship with and got them to a point of, sniffing contention. Every year they decide to move on, and then Joe comes in, and I think he's the right man for the job. It'll be super fascinating for me with a guy who already has relationships in that building at a certain role, and then takes whatever you call it an authoritative role, and how that shifts, and maybe how his philosophy shifts. It could not, and that's great. But it'll be amazing to ask what he expected when he started this year to how it ended. And I mean, the moves they made, I thought they brought in some really good veteran, proven players to bolster the defense. In that secondary, they brought in a bunch of good dudes, and then they absolutely brought a tone setter in with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, one of the most polarizing players personality-wise in the league. And then you have a dude like Bradley Chubb, who has juice, a guy who you play plenty of times, and I mean physically he's imposing, and what he can bring to a defense is astonishing. So, I think the sky's the limit for this team. Of course, I know that there's going to be great skepticism surrounding it with some of the moves they made, especially the head coaching one. But that's our job as either retired schmucks or just the general gin pop, to kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy the show and see what these boys are able to do.
Mitch, what did you see in your time around Joe Brady, and what the energy that he brings, and how you think he'll fare taking that next step as a head coach?
I think he's been molding himself for this for quite some time. You talk about a guy who was under the tutelage of Sean Payton in his early 20s and goes on and wins a national championship in his late 20s, mid-20s with the LSU Tigers, goes on, has a coordinating gig, learns a lot over in Carolina, gets the opportunity here to not only kind of absorb as much as he can about how you run an organization and how he's pulled from different coaches that he's been with on what he wants to do, what he doesn't want to do. He's run an offense for the better part of 5 years if you split the time with Carolina and just in the NFL. And then you look at his mid-30s. I mean, he has an astonishing coaching career and accrued knowledge and just game time opportunities, and now he gets to step into a role of leadership. I assume there's going to be immense growing pains, and I think the person who'd tell you they're expecting it the most is probably him. But that's what you want out of a leader. What I saw from a guy is someone who's extremely relatable, a social chameleon, one who can command a room not only with his kindness and his banter and his candor and his being able to relate to players, but also from just his football acumen and his ability to stand on what he believes and look guys in the eye if they're not rising to the standard that is set for an organization or a team or an offense. And now it's offense and defense. And he's got a crispy hairline. He always gets lined up on Fridays. He's got his gold chain.
The Air Jordans.
The Air Jordans. Like, I think if you married that, like that was so lost upon me, right?
Yeah.
Old Navy free stuff. But that being said, I think he's poised to be a great coach in this league. It'll just be interesting to see what he said in these meetings, these ownership meetings when they were interviewing for head coaches, on since he was in there, what he would have changed, because he had such an intimate view of what was going on.
Well, that was going to be my next question is, do you feel Brady will change things enough that you will notice the difference between what he was doing as an offensive coordinator under a head coach, Sean McDermott, now as the head coach, maybe we start to see a different philosophy in how this offense works?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
And I think that's the thing that's people, it's just kind of scratching, scratching their eyeballs out, trying to figure out, right? I would assume you don't break what's not broken. And that is a very good run game. You bring in Pat Meyer, who's cut from the same cloth, spent a lot of time with Aaron Cromer, who's one of Aaron Cromer's very dear friends. So they share philosophy, ideas, and how the run game is supposed to be executed. I don't think it's going to be a Brian Daboll throw 60 bombs a game. I hope it's not for the offensive lineman's sake, to be honest. But I assume there's going to be some sort of marriage of the two, right? There's something that he said in that meeting, and I couldn't tell you what it is, but there's a philosophical change. But more so than anything, this move that was made and the head coach being removed, the thing that stands out to me is there must have been something he said about how he envisions his defense that was starkly different and that will contrast from what was there before.